All right, guys, welcome to the episode number one of the Creators Podcast. We just
First
moved out
episode.
to a new studio, originally to what we were at in Washington. So
Yeah.
we're running back part two. And basically, with the podcast, the main things we wanted to cover with episode number one is we're at a perfect time going into the new year of 2024. So I think with me and Elijah, we just want to recap, what's happened so far this year and just kind of walk people through what our goals are and help let them know what we're going to be documenting.
Yeah.
What they can really be looking forward to tuning into the upcoming episodes.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, like what you said, to just piggyback on that. First episode podcast, new city,
Yep.
new state. But, the integrity would be to just document the journey, your business, my business, and inviting some cool people over and kind of just talking about life, business, and kind of just how did he come up with, right? And then
Yeah.
and how you guys can implement into your own business or whatever venture you guys are trying out with.
Yeah.
So I want to start with, who are you, TJ? If they just met you,
Yeah.
who's
Okay, so I run a consulting company that helps sales professionals learn how to build their own business underneath their sales company, right?
Yeah.
And to give a little bit of context, I've been running this company for the past. I've been in business for 4 years, but I've been running this consulting business for the past 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And this year specifically, we're wrapping up at 450, so just a little under $500,000 in
Yeah.
terms of top end revenue, which is dope, which is great. And yeah, this has been my main thing, and I'm really looking forward to documenting, getting to multiple seven figures with this, hopefully by these upcoming 1 to 2 years, honestly. And yeah, that's basically me. But yeah, I give them an introduction with
Yeah.
who you are, how you got started,
Yeah.
where you're at right now. I
Yeah.
guess.
The funny thing, so Renaissance Closer is the main thing I've been building, and this has been like a year since I've launched the entire business. And it's funny because I've been wanting to start my own e-com drop shipping and my marketing agency back then, and then ended up transitioning to sales. And eventually I wasn't even planning on starting this own business, but I was just in high ticket sales, and eventually posted a video about high ticket sales, and a lot of people were like, hey, how do you can you help me get started, blah blah blah. And then I was like, okay, well, I think you're the one who encouraged me as well to bro, just start your own offer here now at this point because you have so much attention, right? And I was like, that makes sense. And yeah, from now, I think revenue wise we were around 350, something like that,
Nice.
rev.
Yeah.
And then main thing now is it's fun helping people get into it, but the main thing I think we've been talking about is me building the sales agency and just building that up, helping specific business owner go from 6 figures to 7-figure run rate, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I've been focusing on. And I think, what I wanted to get out of this pod as well is, kind of just share our insights, our mistakes, and some things that we're going to be doing moving forward, right? So
Yeah.
for both of us, I know we've been talking behind the scenes about what are the things we've learned, from the biz, and where are we going to position ourselves. I think that's a very valuable thing to discuss right now.
Yeah, I guess that's perfect segue, right? What would you say this year? What would you say are your top 3 biggest mistakes that you've made in business this year?
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, but if I would do 3, number one is definitely not having, if I would get a feedback on, I didn't even think about feedback, about if I do X, then it'll do Y, right?
Yeah.
It's always I'll keep doing X, whatever it is, but I wouldn't see the feedback of what happened if I do this specific, action.
Yeah.
That was the biggest mistake I've made. It's now it's okay, if you do X, wait for a few weeks or a month or two to see what feedback it will give you. And then adjust your next move, or your next action accordingly on what that, feedback that gave you. It's like a scientific equation,
right? Yeah.
method, right? It's like,
That's really good.
that's number one, top one. Number two is like knowing who you should hire and what type of people you should get into your business. That's number one thing is like, okay, yes, delegate to scale, but it's like, okay, who are the people that you need? Who are the right people? What's the mission statement, right? And then
Yeah.
that's number two, like just leadership and hiring. And lastly, it's just having a longer vision. I feel like I was caught up this year was like just month to month, like, okay, what should we do next month, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And like, instead of seeing your business as a monthly thing, it's like a yearly thing and quarterly thing, right? It's not like you have your micro, goals, but you need to have your macro goals as well.
Agreed.
I felt like I was just like doing a monthly basis thing. Oh yeah, we're gonna do good this month, and then we'll implement this thing, and we're gonna go double XR. It doesn't work like that, right?
Yeah. Agreed.
Which is leads to number one of like the feedbacks. Like I didn't listen to that at all. So those were the things that I made a mistake on, but big lessons for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of money, a lot of lessons, but
A lot of
it
missed
is what it is.
opportunity from just one thing.
Yeah,
right?
but it is what it is, right? I mean, that's
is,
why
yeah.
it's
part of the
fun.
game, bro.
Yeah, part
Yeah.
of the game. So how about you? What's top 3 mistakes and what are you gonna do moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, dude, like I think like with what you're saying, it's pretty common for even in business for people to like execute on something and they have a specific goal, but they don't take the time to take a step back and analyze the feedback and the data that they're collecting from a specific action that they have in business. So
Yeah.
back to your point, like this year, like for example, like when I got out here in Vegas, like I think that was when it got really clear to me that a lot of the times it's not trying new things, right? Because in business, when you find something that works, it's not trying something new. It's more often you got to do more and then make it better. And if that doesn't work, after you have all that data and feedback, is then trying something new,
Yeah.
right? Because like there is a very clear moment when I got here for like 2 months and I started just trying so many different like angles for
Yeah, I remember.
my
Yep.
marketing. Yeah. Like I tried going like low ticket with my my high ticket coaching business, and it was just like it was a mess. Like it didn't work, right? And I think a lot I did that too with my delivery of my product too. Like I would learn a new strategy, implement it into my entire program, and just reform my entire program
Yeah.
based on that one strategy without proper testing and feedback to even know like if it would be a good idea to implement into.
Yeah, that's a big thing, bro. Like just feedback and actually like listening to a feedback. I don't
Yeah.
know why it's like, you think it's like most common thing, like people get in entrepreneurship, they say, oh yeah, like
Yeah, there's a form of like shiny object syndrome,
Yeah.
but like I think like on a fundamental level, like that process that you're saying, like the science, like what is science, like the scientific method? It's like having a theory.
Theory.
Well, actually, it's collecting, like doing research
Research
first,
first, and then
coming up with the theory.
thesis, right?
Yeah, you have a thesis of like what potentially could happen.
Could happen. Yep.
You test it,
Test it.
you get feedback.
Back.
And then you can
Is-
conceive like more. It's a feedback
Is
loop,
it
right?
like accurate to your thesis?
Mm-hmm.
Yes or no, right? And then if it yes, okay, cool. Keep doing that.
Keep that and
no-
collect that data.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think like with new entrepreneurs, and I'm like, this was one of my biggest lessons. And like, if I'd like, if you're listening to this, I hope this saves you a ton of time because this, if
A
I
lot of
knew
money
this,
too, bro. I'm like,
yeah,
goodness.
If I knew this earlier this year, this would have been one of the biggest things. Is like when you take an action, take time to collect feedback. Because I remember I was coming back from Washington after visiting some family, and I was writing down, okay, what are the biggest mistakes that I made this year? And it was simply that. Like that was the number one biggest mistake that I made in business this year was not taking the time to get feedback
yeah.
for me to then make a proper adjustment in my business.
Yeah.
Right.
100%. I didn't to be fair, some of my mentors grilled me for that too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, it's like I just keep doing a bunch of shit,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would like change it, and then I'd discard that entire thing. Like I wouldn't
Yeah.
even consider what happened in that specific.
I think
action.
like in the beginning with becoming an entrepreneur too, you get rewarded for trying a bunch of new shit.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because
So,
you're like, let me try this. It's not working. It's not working. It's not working. Boom. Okay, it works. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like unlearning that bad habit that it's not trying new things. It's just like when you find something, just making it better and doubling
Yeah.
down on that one like concept. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's why it's like so common for like people transitioning from 9 to 5 to like entrepreneurship is because we were rewarded, like you said. I didn't even think about it that way. Like I didn't know like, oh, because it's so natural. You do it subconsciously, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
you got rewarded like big time.
For sure. That's why it's like, it's difficult to figure that stuff out. But yeah, also too, like, you know, I understand like in the big grand scheme of things, like 4 years of being in business isn't that long, but it's interesting. Reason being is because when you kind of take a step back, you see a lot of people that either run businesses for a long time and they don't necessarily make progress.
Yeah.
It's because of that, right?
Right.
And people don't look for new information to then test out. But it's like when you have a hypothesis, it's an educated guess, basically.
Educated guess. Yep.
So to my point, right? It's like one of the things that I learned is I don't want to scrap away the fact that, you know, we do have some time underneath our belt. We're not complete brand new beginners. 4 years
Yeah.
is a good amount of time to learn something.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start looking at people that in the same amount of time have made leaps and bounds.
Yeah, which is
It's very interesting, right? Because when you look at the game, right?
So what's the gap between like the guys who make leaps? What do you think is the gap?
There has to be a gap, right? Because there's outsized returns for like their inputs. And that's the crazy thing too. Like I think as a hustler, like my natural instinct is to
More work,
Yeah, like
volume, double it, right?
100%. Like I don't know, like I am the type of person to push harder when like I have resistance, right?
Yeah.
Rather than taking a step back and be like, okay, what other angle can I approach
Right.
this from and just like think, right?
Yeah, because we're very similar. We're like a machine gun, right? I always say this analogy, like we're a machine gun, like we just keep shooting till we hit the target.
Yep.
But for example, like my brother is like a sniper, right? He will
Yeah.
literally just wait till he can see the target and he just shoot one shot and then that's it.
Yeah.
Like for us, we're like, zzz, right? I mean,
There's a detriment to
each
it.
their own, right?
There is a detriment to it, but specifically with what I was like, the point I'm trying to make is overall with the entire game is you learn bits and pieces as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You see any successful entrepreneur, they understand the macro of the entire game, of an entire business, right?
Right.
Because let's say, for example, in the service-based business, like online service-based, right? Like agencies, consultants, et cetera, right?
Yeah.
What happens is when you focus on just one part of the business, the reason why the delivery that and the results that you get for your clients isn't on par with some of the other people in the industry is simply because you're only focusing on fixing one problem, right? And for the people that do get crazy results with your product and your solution is because that was the one missing piece to their business at that point in time.
Right.
Right.
100%, bro. Like it's like you have the entire back end setup, but you just didn't have the marketing setup, and then that person is selling or pitching a service of marketing, then that's just like the missing piece. But for example, some person might have joined the same exact program, right? And then they do the marketing, implement it, but wouldn't get any results because they didn't have the back end set up.
Yeah.
Right. Which is like,
Yeah.
oh, everything works. It's just like, is it that time and season of your business journey that you needed that information?
Yeah, and it's analyzing which part of your business needs the most help at like any point in time, right? Because like I think this year's been a big year of like product development for me. But honestly, I probably didn't need to spend that much time on product development. I really didn't. Like the results that I get for clients is already there, right? But I was focusing on the wrong things, right? And again, going back to that point of not collecting feedback and data, I could have moved a lot faster if I just wrote down, okay, this is working for clients, this isn't, right? But I unintentionally stumbled into certain things that did work. And then now I'm going back and be like, oh, that worked. Okay, I got to stick with that, right? Because let's say, for example, like earlier this year, I was running Facebook ads for my clients, and then I switched over to Instagram ads, right?
Yeah.
It's something technical, but like long story short, it's like the Facebook ads was what was working, and I completely scrapped it.
Stop the cold turkey.
Yeah,
but like why? Right?
Why
Like,
exactly?
There's no reason why you stopped. It's just like I should do this. It's like again,
Yeah, it was a gut feeling. I was like, oh well, yeah, I guess like it's gonna work, right?
right. Yeah.
So yeah,
So it can be emotional sometimes in business. You just collect data and then okay, well, what's the best course of action here, right?
yeah.
You can't.
I think some of the best entrepreneurs are able to take out a lot of their emotions and just analytically look at their business.
Yeah.
So I think also from that one lesson or from that one big mistake, my one also big lesson that like piggybacks off of that concept is the fact that business is a cohesive problem.
Yeah, it's like a nucleus, right? Like it's like a cell. It's like a entire family, right?
Yeah. Cause like I realize like this is some game for you guys if you guys are listening about like how do I deliver a better product, a better service and make more money is okay. This is what I'm talking about because it's top of mind for me. But right now I'm repositioning my offer to go from more of like a lead gen-esque agency, which there's lots of lead gen agencies out there.
Yeah.
And I'm positioning myself more of like a one-stop shop to be like, oh, I'll fix all of your problems.
Yeah.
Right. So let's say, for example, like Alex Hormozi has that value equation, right? Which is, dream outcome times, perceived likelihood of achievement divided by effort and sacrifice and how much time it takes to get to that achievement equals value. Mm-hmm. But a missing piece of that equation is how many problems can you solve in that one problem or that one equation, right? Because like we were going back with like a business, I should have realized that instead of focusing on lead gen, the reason why some clients would be more successful than others is because that was the one missing piece.
Yeah, yeah.
But if I were to fix all of the problems for one of the clients, right, then how much more valuable is that product?
Yeah.
Right? Because then you think about like, let's say, for example, with high ticket sales, right?
Right.
If they had the right mindset.
Yeah.
They chose the right vehicle. They're good to go.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? On my vehicle, it's more of like because you're kind of like in B2B, but kind of like at the area.
B2C is kind of interesting.
Yeah, mine is like B2C, and I realized, bro, it's crazy. I know you probably heard it a million times already, but 0 to 10K a month is literally just mindset.
Oh, 100%.
That's it.
100%.
And people can like fathom that. It's like, bro, it's just the discipline, the consistency, and just like actually being surrounded with people and cutting off like and having boundaries and like actually being strict to yourself, right?
Agreed.
And actually just implementing as much volume as you can and not being emotional about it. Just keep going, right? That's it.
Yep.
And then I realized is the program is really good, right? And then,
yeah.
But the problem was I'm selling it to people, or I'm angling it where like there's so much more upfront work, or like it's so much more, like the people that's getting in is all mindset and consistency. I'm like, it's a simple shit about like actually knowing where you need to go and all these things, right?
Yeah.
And which is like, it's not bad, right? But selfishly, like, where do I need to go myself if I'm gonna just spend my time here?
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
100%.
So it's
Agreed.
like, I could spend my time here and make this shit work out, or it's like, but the speed of rate of implementation and the people you're spending your time around with, which one is faster and which one is more beneficial as a whole, right? It's like, okay, well, work with people who already has X, Y, and Z. They have the mindset, they have some type of competence already.
Yeah.
And then those people get much more faster result compared to like having to fix their mind and then the competence part is missing.
Yep, 100%.
Right? And it's not even about like, putting people down, but it's just like where... But how can we get results as fast as we can? And those people like, you can't force someone to drink the water. You can lead them to the water.
Of course, yeah.
Why not, instead of the entire analogy? Why not just help the people who's already drinking the water?
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Agreed.
And then help them actually go further because they're already drinking the water. But it's like, well, they have a destination they need to go to. That's why they're fueling themselves up, preparing themselves up. But if you have someone who don't want to drink the water and you're trying to push them there, there's so much more like
Resistance.
friction,
Yeah,
resistance.
I think like that goes down to like if we were to look at this the consulting and the service based business as a whole, it's like defining who the market is, right? Because
Yeah.
if we can define who the market is and we can find somebody that we can provide more value to that has just more money and the right mindset, it's a lot easier to get that one person the result, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times it's like some people, I think this is like a really good point to make is we break down the definition of intelligence, right?
Yeah.
Break it down. What is it? What is it,
Break
right?
it down, bro.
It's the rate of implementation and the quality of your knowledge.
Yeah.
Right. So some people can have $100,000 per month work ethic, right? But have a $10,000 per month like knowledge cap.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of the dichotomy like between some of these people that like are trying to make money. It's like, let's say, for example, with people that are beginners, it's like, dude, you could have like the knowledge to make 10K because that's what you give them, right?
Yeah.
But the lack is the implementation.
Yeah,
right.
that's it.
So that's kind of the dichotomy to identify. Okay, how smart are you really? You know what I mean? Because
Right.
like if you did have the right information, it just boils down to execution at
It's
that
just
point.
ultimately yourself and having accountability of accepting the fact that, okay, maybe I'm not the brightest, but let me fix that. How do I get to me being having the right mindset and just actually executing in this, right? Because
Yeah.
they already have the information. It's just actually themselves of like stopping them, right? Because there's this quote that I read somewhere. I think it was, I forgot which book it was that I was reading. But I read so much book this year,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah.
But it was about in your society, your parents, your relationships, but the greatest, withholder of yourself is like your self-image or your psychological is the one that you put into yourself. So it's within your image yourself. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest stopper of all time. It's not the outside or the external. It's the internal dialogue of yourself.
Yep.
And that's from 0 to 1, right? But obviously some people already has that. Now it's like the actual, tactical execution, right?
Yeah. I think also like this is one of the biggest lessons that I learned this year too is like sometimes you learn a lot of things from the market. Like right now, if you can go on YouTube right now, there's so much freaking information you can learn just about anything.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is there's just a discrepancy between information and implementation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also another thing that I learned, it's also being able to discern which information you need right now for you to get to that next step, right? Because if you're learning, let's say you have a lead gen problem, but you're focusing on like delivery. That was me, right? What the fuck? Like you're not gonna see. You should be learning about how to like fix your lead gen problem instead of fixing like your delivery problem, right? And back to this, right? Because I had a lead gen problem this year, I also learned we're sold in the market today, right? Like it's very much, oh, you need volume, right? Volume will fix all of your problems. And I bought into this like thought process.
I got PSYOP.
We all got PSYOP, dude.
You got
Like,
PSYOP on volume. It's not. No, it's not, right?
it's not.
the quality of information that you have and then actually executing on it, right?
Exactly, because again, I'm saying we have the work ethic. Don't get me wrong. Like once you develop it, there's the keys between the people that are actually like making those leaps and bounds is the quality of information they pick and then implement, right? Because you can implement and have a ton of volume, but the cap doesn't become your implementation at some point, right? Because let's say, for example, one of the problems that we had this year, boom, content, like every day, dude.
Every day.
And I look back at this year, I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. Like brand grew, content, like, went pretty all right.
Yeah.
But I look back and I analyze it. I'm like, okay, there is a problem here.
There
right?
is. There
has to be a problem here.
Yeah.
And it went back to, if we were to break it down, that feedback, the scientific method, right?
Yeah.
Not understanding that, because if I understood that and I had that approach in all aspects of my business, I would have made progress a lot faster, right? And also, it's not about how hard you row, it's about what boat you're in. So you can take that analogy and extrapolate it into like your effort and your information, right? Because with, let's say, the 30 to 50K level of my intelligence right now, I had a fucking 100, 200K per month, $1 million a month, like execution, like work ethic. You know what I mean?
But it's then the right information or quality of information that you know.
Exactly. So then, like, that's how you can like go back down to the 9-to-5 society, right? Like, bro, there's guys that work way harder. Like,
I'm saying that blue collar workers right now are working 10 times harder than us.
Way harder.
Like, why are they not wealthier than us, right?
Right, because it's a knowledge gap. So when you understand that, like, that's the dichotomy, is like you have to have the right self-image that allows you to implement like on a high level, right? And allows you to actually execute on what you need to do. But it's also then finding quality of information. And in today's like information economy, there's just so much shit out there.
Yeah,
there's a lot of shit, dude.
Yeah, and then the thing is, because we were rewarded of like putting free stuff, but that's what the market realized. But now the market's information overload, right? It's like, okay, well, how do you separate yourself from the red ocean and having your own ocean of like actually separating yourself from all those people saying the same shit?
Yep.
It's literally just like, okay, well, what's actually getting people results, right? And that's like seeing it as a whole, not just like a specific thing.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, because it's not like one specific guarantee. It's not one unique mechanism. It's the whole thing.
Yeah, that's why I stopped doing like guarantees too in my shits, because like it attracts the wrong people.
100%. Yeah,
and it's just like, well, bro, if you're not willing to put the work in, I'm gonna guarantee you're not gonna get anywhere.
We're back. We had technical difficulties. Don't mind us. We're figuring this shit out. You guys will have a better quality episode in the future. Whatever.
In the future, and to be fair, we're not here to like try to get 1 million views right on the get go. It's just like, hey, if you found this video, this first episode, hey. This is how we started, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, like the whole idea of this is documenting the journey just for us to be able to listen back and just have like specific key takeaways. Because it's like back to the scientific method. If we can go back and be like, okay, these were our main like data sets we downloaded this year.
Yeah.
We can make the improvements in the tweaks
to
that
be
are
fair
necessary.
too, though, like I've been trying to get to exit the matrix for. I just recently did kind of exit the matrix. To be fair, right? It's like, so this year was like my full year in business, but like late last year was like I was still in between 9 to 5. Like mid last year, I was still 9 to 5er.
Granted, yeah.
And trying to figure this shit out.
Agreed.
And I was like, okay, now we can see this shit in like a scientific method.
Yep.
Now my next question to you is, how are you gonna use scientific method? To be honest, shout out to school. I think that's the only one thing that school has actually taught me. But honestly, what are you going to use next year? What are you going to insert to the scientific method? And what are you going to be testing out for next year?
I think...
And what's your expectation of like the result?
Yeah, so let's talk about exactly what I'm going to be implementing this next year, right? So the scientific method is obviously just something you have to subconsciously like keep like... you be aware of, right? It's kind of like one of those things that you learn that like, it's one of those things where once you learn it, it's more often you have to be reminded of it than you have to be taught it again.
So true, bro.
Just like how money's not real, right? That was another really big lesson this year.
Okay, actually, let's talk about money, because holy shit, this shit's not real.
It is not.
It's not real.
Yeah, dude. I remember on the way to check out Jeremy's mastermind, shout out Pogue and Dag and Wahab.
Yeah.
Everyone was there. Yeah, dude, like I remember just like watching a few like tape podcasts like when he was first like getting onto the scene.
Blowing up,
yeah, like earlier this year, right? And there was one key takeaway that really shifted my belief about like business life in general is like, again, when you extrapolate like what society is and like what even is money, like why do we work for money, what are businesses, like what is the government, what is like the Federal Reserve, like what is all these like structures within our society that govern us, right? And I came to like the like a really like to me it was groundbreaking. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It was a crazy realization that money is legit not real. And you listen to some of the OGs in the game, like Robert Kiyosaki, who was saying this for a long time, right? Long time.
People were just like, ah, ha, ha, ha. You know, it's.
Yeah, that's like some conspiracy theory type shit. Like, I'm now that I'm like, I would consider myself more of a conspiracy theorist more than ever before, right?
Yeah.
Because like you start looking into some of this stuff and it's so real. Like if you guys are like curious about this stuff, check out Patrick Bet-David and like watch his podcast because he breaks down a lot of these things in depth. And that concept of money makes you feel like nothing is like there's no fear when it comes to like fucking up in business, bro. You could be $2 million.
Yeah.
I mean, unless somebody's pointing a gun at your head and being like, okay, motherfucker, unless you like figure out how to get this money, I'm gonna kill you. Then like, okay, there's no real significance of that stress, right? And back to the whole idea of like my faith has grown a lot this year. I feel like it's been an amazing win, bro. Shout out to you, bro. I appreciate you so much for that.
Gotcha, brother.
But like even
we had those Zoom calls for hours late at night talking about God.
Yeah.
Like in Everett.
Yeah, dude. Like my faith has grown tremendously this year. And like, I think that correlates back to this idea of money not being real. Cause a lot of times like people live in fear because of money. Oh, I can't do X, Y, Z because of money. I can't quit my job because I won't have money. Right. And it's crazy because you're giving your power away to an idea that doesn't even exist.
Yeah, it's a fucking paper, bro.
Because for you guys that don't know, right? 1971, President Nixon was the president that signed the bill to detach the dollar from gold, right? So now there's no physical backing. It's just a fucking number, right? And the U.S. government is separate from the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve is the agency that prints money.
Yeah, but they're just printing.
Yeah, it's
like there's a bubble right now that's waiting to be popped.
Yeah,
that's why because the thing is, if you go deep into it, so I was like really big into like crypto and like, you know, way before I got into like business or
100%.
Right. I was like in a rabbit hole for that shit, and then I would tell my friends like, bro, money's not real. It's like, what do you mean? And then
they're like, you're crazy.
You're crazy. Like, it's like, bro, what do you mean there's no value? Like, well, what do you buy from like money then? Right? It's like, if you think about it, it's just a fucking paper, right? It's like, it's not real. And then I dove deeper into it. And then I realized that the idea of money is, it's just to control the society as a whole. Mm-hmm. To be completely dependent on it.
Yep.
Because that's why when crypto came around, that's when it gives more power to the people where it's like, hey, we're not gonna, you know, submit to just one centralized currency. Mm-hmm. But that's what the government's trying to do is the centralized currency. So, for example, you do something they don't like, I'll take all your money away, right?
Yeah.
But crypto, like, or Satoshi, whoever created that crypto, realized this is what's happening or the trajectory of money. Mm-hmm. And he was like, nah, like, let's try to like fight this against.
Yeah, decentralized.
The decentralized, you know, banking and stuff like that. But the US Reserve are trying to like, you know, latch onto that and make sure that people don't have, you know, that they can't do that.
Yeah.
But again, this is the war people don't understand right now because again, they gave you enough to like not worry about it, to just live paycheck to paycheck.
Yep.
But again, we are fortunate. To be fair, we are fortunate to even think about these things, right?
Yep, 100%.
But it was our choice to I don't know, bro. Like, was it a choice or was it, you know, because everything happens for a reason. That's where I'm kind of like, was it a choice of ours? But like, well, everybody could have chosen to like, you know, research about it. Mm-hmm. But how come no one did? Or especially our age, like, why the hell are we thinking about these things?
Yep.
But majority of people aren't thinking about this.
I think a lot of people like know what they want, but they don't like put any effort and energy to get towards like the things they truly do want, right? Because everyone wants to like live a free life, but why? Is because the reason why we want financial freedom is not to fucking have money; it's to have freedom and choice, right? And like that's what money allows you to do, is because you don't have to worry about like working all of the time, which is you're trading your time for your money, right? So yeah, I think like one of the things that you said that stood out to me was like the guy who made like crypto like was recognizing trends.
Yeah.
And that kind of like in a micro perspective, in order to make money, I think that's pretty important. I didn't understand what people were talking about when they're like recognize trends, right? Look at
what's stock market. They're really good at that shit, bro.
Yeah, because like I didn't understand this because like Ty Lopez was like the first guy I ever looked into. Like that was the guy that got me into the business game, right? And he always talked about like you need to recognize trends to be able to know where the market's going so you can capitalize and make money.
Like,
right?
What does that mean?
So it's a very fundamental like principle though, right? Yeah. It's like, dude, like fundamental principles. Look at trends. Where is the money flowing, and just jump on.
Yeah, like
jump
deal
towards
flows,
that.
right? That's why I think I got so inclined on like knowing my strengths and my weaknesses, is because how do I position myself? That's why I was like, hey, you should do this test. Oh, you should do these things. Mm-hmm. So you get to know more. You're more aware of like what your strengths are and your weaknesses are.
Yeah.
That's why like I found out recently that I'm like a blaze genius, or in this Million Master Plan. Mm. It's I'm good with people, but there's people who's good at data, good at these things, right? And if you're able to identify that, you can position yourself in the market.
Yeah.
To catch those deal flows to you. In return, you get capital in you.
Yeah.
Right? It's not even the idea of money, but it's like you get more deals with you, and people are more inclined to work with you because you position yourself the right way in the market.
Yeah. And like when you can do that, I think one of the things about identifying a trend is like using critical thinking. I think this is also a skill. This is a skill. This is a skill because a lot of intelligent people are able to take information and instead of, because bro, especially in the online business, it's monkey see, monkey do, bro.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
It is, bro. You see one motherfucker.
The ads now, like this IG story ad, funnel, IG funnel, ads, this and that. Mm-hmm. And then, but if you see like the outliers on what they're doing, they're selling that idea, but look at what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. So because the guys that like lead industries, bro, is because of this whole concept. It's because like let's say for example with stocks, you buy the rumor, you sell like the news, right?
Yeah.
So if you take that concept into like the online space, right? Like a lot of the guys that are able to like move really fast is like they take in information and they can like measure that against what they already know. And based on that feedback, they can filter out, okay, is this good information or bad information?
Right.
Because like back to that whole idea of like, what are the biggest mistakes that we had? Is like, oh, okay, this seems like good information. There was no filter. Just took in, tried everything that came into my brain.
Yeah.
Right? When that's not necessarily like the right thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because with people that are making leaps and bounds is because they look at what's happening in the market as a whole and they're like, okay, a lot of people don't understand why something works.
Why, right?
The why.
Why does it work?
Yeah. And like, dude, that's where critical thinking plays such a massive role. Cause like this year was like another big like breakthrough. Cause I remember like sitting down and talking to like you, Blake, everybody, and just being like, dude, a lot of what I learned this year wasn't the how anymore. It's more about like why things work.
Why is it working?
Yeah. Cause when you understand the why, the how becomes easy, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's so interesting when people in business, the monkey see, monkey do happens is because a lot of people don't understand why something works, right? But when the original person was able to create that method and that theory or that thesis is because they were able to take the information that they knew and they understood why it worked to be able to create that theory and test it and get data and feedback that proved that thesis was true based on the information that they knew. So it's a lot less about tactical strategy. It's a lot more about core
Critical
principles.
thinking,
Yeah, in critical thinking and understanding the core principles. Because, like we just said, the scientific method is a very core principle as lesson.
People
right?
like Bill Gates, Steve Jobs use this shit, bro. Like that's the thing. That's like the core foundation of them, of like building this thing, right? It's like, it's not just, oh, let's try this thing. It's like more of like they have a mission statement and a vision, and then if the feedback they get is not aligned to that, then that's when they try something new.
Yep.
Our feedback is so fast. So one thing that we said, hey,
Yeah.
let's execute first, and then
figure it out.
let's like share the idea that we're trying out, right? It's kind of like,
100%, yeah.
because so it gives us breathing room to actually execute and test our idea instead of like getting external dialogue already
Yep.
about our idea, right? And then we'll report back, okay, like, was it good? What could have been better, right? Instead of just like, but do this. And
I
that,
agree,
right?
because like I feel like in our proximity, it's really good. Like everyone around you has good intentions. Like, dude, like out of everyone in your circle has good intentions, and they should have good intentions. Otherwise, cut them out of your circle, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing too, right? Like, let's say for example with Alex Hormozi, a lot of people just take what he says at face value.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, somebody says,
like,
"Oh, well, Alex Hormozi said, all right, fuck yeah, I guess I'm doing it, right?" But then like they don't think about why he said that, right? And why he said like what he said and why it works. So I think with all this goes back to all the data that you have out in the marketplace. Again, people are designed to give you out their what's worked for them based on their own experience, based on their own situations, which doesn't mean there's not something valuable that you can pick away from an argument or like an idea, but don't take the whole thing and just fucking slap it onto yours and just call it good.
That's why you need to be an artist, right?
100%.
You can't just be like a copycat. You need to be an artist.
Yeah. And like, honestly, dude, like that's basically what business is. Cause like a business is a form of art, right?
It is an art.
And like at the end of the day, in order to get started, you do have to just do what other people are doing.
Yeah, take inspiration from them, right? But don't just like do that shit, because you're gonna always be step behind, always with them.
100%. So like that's why you should like have and this is another thing, right? Like when you have your own data, you have your own experiences to like measure off your feedback from, that should be your first core instinct. Right.
Like, well, what are the past things I've tried?
Yeah, because like let's say for example, I think a lot of people don't understand like when Tate talks about this, because a lot of people like when Tate came out, he's like, COVID's fucking sham. And they're like, why? And he's like, well, his worldview is, okay, if I haven't seen it and I don't have data that gives me that like conclusion, why would I believe it just because someone said it?
Right.
Right. And it's the extreme version of that, right? Because, you know, like that's one extreme example. But if you take that thought process, it's like, okay, that comes from somebody who is self-analytical and can look at their own situation and then come to their own conclusion.
Yeah.
Before taking in a bunch of like data and feedback, and they have that strong filter, right? I think again, a lot of about where we are now, it's less about just learning as much information as possible. It's being very selective with information because
right. On where you get your information, right?
Yeah, because I think like one of the lessons I learned from Tai Lopez in the beginning that like really resonates, and it's still a lesson that I think about to this day. It's like, why would you listen? This is for anyone who's going from 0 to 1.
Yeah.
Why the fuck would you listen to anyone that doesn't have the life that you want? Why? It just makes zero sense. They don't have the money. They don't have like the lifestyle that you want. Like nothing that they say is, they might have the best intentions, but again, back to that definition of intelligence, their knowledge gap is like way far off, right? So then go find somebody that has like the
ideal
outcome.
lifestyle, right? That you want, the way of making income and producing deals, right?
Yeah, 100%, dude. Like you have to go and find somebody that has that knowledge in that specific field and arena that you're listening to. Because also another thing is when you find somebody that you resonate with, you don't just do everything that they do, right? Because obviously they're human too. This is like the problem, like when you find people that you quote unquote idolize. If you don't idolize God, stop idolizing other people, right? That's where you get lost in the fucking sauce.
Yeah.
Because God will show you who you need to become.
Yeah.
But I think when you copy people and you just try and take up like their own mannerisms, again, like it's very unoriginal. That's why I think what like the world truly lacks is truly authentic people.
Yeah.
People who say what they fucking think. Especially in business and the content creation space, right? It's just like I think originality is like a really big point. So yeah, dude.
Yeah.
That's a big lesson for me. I'm like,
Biggest
okay,
lesson.
just be an OG,
100%.
bro.
Yeah, just follow what your heart's saying, right? And it's not like trying to become someone else.
Yeah, but base all of your conclusions based off your own evidence, and then try and seek different evidence and different intelligence if your frame of mind is not giving you the result that you want.
100%.
Yeah.
I think I like this first episode for sure. I want to conclude it with, what do you think would be like next actionable steps are you going to do next year? And, what should the people who's listening to this expect?
That's a great question. I think going on to this next year, it's focusing on the highest leverage inputs. Because we all have 24 hours within a day. Yeah. How are people making like outsized returns with their time as opposed to somebody like me? So again, I think I'm going to learn from this cycle that I've been in because to be quite fair, like I've been in the same bracket basically this
for
entire
a while,
year.
Right.
But I'm realizing it's not from an input perspective. It's a fucking it's a knowledge gap, dude. Gap. So like I think I'm gonna be more intentional about learning.
Yeah, it's still knowledge, right? That's why in the Bible it talks about, King Solomon said, seek knowledge, and God is the beginning and end of knowledge, right? And wisdom.
Yeah.
And it's funny when we're speaking like that, it's like, okay, well, it's actually seeking that, because I think that's where we get lost in the sauce when you copy someone, right? But I think for me, the biggest thing I'm going to be implementing next year is, like you said, doing more higher level tasks and focusing more on people. Realities of
building a business,
and it's not just, oh, you're selling this, okay, it's just this. No, there's more depth in it, right? Because people are like, they just see the width of like everything, but there's no depth, right? They just see the surface, but they don't see the depth of like how to run everything. So that's the main thing I want to share here, is like the depth that I'm taking, and then like the risks that it takes. Right. And then just being more intentional with my time.
Yeah, I think like for anyone who just wants to continue watching us grow, it's like just going to be documented for, I our personal growth and our journey along building and who we have to become in order to build like a multiple 8-9 figure company, right?
Yeah, I think that's because for me, I don't know, my vision with everything right now is I want to just put this out there. Is I genuinely think that 8 figures.
It's not that crazy.
It's not that crazy.
Yeah.
Right, and I feel like why not 8 figures? And they're like, oh, you're delusional, whatever. But you're delusional enough as well to believe that earning 6 figures a year is normal, and like you're delusional enough that you think 40K a year is normal.
Yep.
You were just programmed, and you were believed that that's normal.
Yeah.
Well, my normal is not 6 figures, 5 figures, 50K a year.
It's wherever you want it to be.
It's wherever you want to be. So my normal is 8 figures.
Yeah.
Right? And
at least
I'm like,
for right now.
and the main vision statement is helping the people back home, bro. Like, I think the next episode, I think I want to dive deep of like
The why? Yeah,
like
that's
why
really
we
good.
do things and the vision and like why are we even building our business. I think that's
Agreed.
a good.
Yeah, that's a really
So
good place to
keep
put
it a look out next episode, but we'll wrap it up here, bro. I'm excited.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Episode number 2 coming soon. Let's go.
Peace out.